You are not weak for feeling this way. You're not broken. You are not dramatic. You're navigating a world that expects you to be superhuman while denying you the softness you deserve. Give yourself permission to slow down, feel, rest, and be cared for. You deserve warmth inside and out. Hello everyone, my name is Naya and welcome to Let Me Just Say This. I hope you guys are doing so good, and if you are not, come here. You know what to do, bring it in. Let me give you an audio hug. I got you. We're going to talk about it today, honey. Don't you worry. And if you are new here, hello, welcome to the vibe, welcome to the tribe. Go ahead and subscribe because you are going to love it here. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, as you should, okay, you see me, I see you. You looking good. Girl, me too. I told you guys in the last episode that this week we're going to touch on a little bit of a heavier topic, a little bit more serious this week. We are talking mental health, specifically mental health for Black women, because I'm a Black woman and there's some things that I have experienced and that I currently go through that I've kind of touched on indirectly, but I haven't really fully opened up to you guys. So today we are going to talk about that. And really I wanted to touch on this now because 'tis the season, babe. It is like prime time for seasonal depression. I don't know about where you're at, honey, but here in Georgia, where I stay, it is very gloomy. It's very much so winter weather. We're not in that like, it's global warming, summer, winter, swinter vibe. No, it's definitely giving winter. It's giving, the sun is going down at 5 p.m. I just want to lay in bed all day. That's what it's giving. And I cannot harp on, combating seasonal depression enough because I suffer from seasonal depression. And while I'm not experiencing it now, it had crossed my mind before this season that I needed a game plan on how I was going to manage it, especially if I was going to be working where I was working, because I would have been going into work when it was dark and coming home when it was dark. And, I was just really kind of concerned about my own mental health, and I'm very grateful. I thank God that I'm in a good place right now, but I know that a lot of us aren't. It's been a hard year for us, girl, and that's okay. Take it easy on yourself. If you're going through it, take it easy on yourself. And Black women, we carry a lot. And honey, when I tell you I'm right there with you. So we're going to discuss that today, and I really hope if you needed an audio hug that this gives it to you. We're going to touch on some stats. I'm going to give you a little bit of information and a little bit of backstory about my mental health, and we're going to get a little bit vulnerable today. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Let's get right on into it. But before we do, honey, I wouldn't be me if I didn't tell you to go and get your tea. Go and get your tea. Even better, get a tea that is going to make you feel good. Get a tea that's going to stimulate your brain, give you a little bit of dopamine or something. You know what I'm saying? I don't have any recommendations right now, but I will come with some at some point. I got my tea already, honey. Shout out to my mug. Thanks, it's the trauma. We're not going to touch on trauma as much today, but trauma plays a role in this, so we're going to touch on it a little bit. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it now. So at this point, I really don't think it should be much of a shocker that Black women are at higher risks of depression and anxiety and other mental health issues than our counterparts. There are so many factors that go into why we are at a higher risk, and it really stems from kind of carrying the weight of the world sometimes, like real life. We carry a lot of generational trauma. We carry a lot of the burden for our family. Sometimes you are the glue that keeps the family together. Sometimes you are the oldest girl that takes care of everybody. Sometimes you are the backbone. Sometimes you are the only one keeping things going. And the stress of that can be so difficult to handle. And I think oftentimes as we're navigating these things, we don't even recognize that these are signs of depression. These are signs of anxiety. These are signs of PTSD and ADHD. We don't even recognize them as such because, our symptoms are often overlooked, not only by, ourselves, but also by medical providers. And of course, we know of the strong Black woman trope, the strong Black woman schema that really serves as a facade. It serves as a facade, and it really signals that we're so strong that we don't feel pain. We're so strong that we don't struggle, or we don't, feel things as deeply as everyone else, or we handle things better than everyone else. And that's a lie. That's a lie, flat out. Flat out. I'm a strong Black woman in spite of the fact that life is hard. I'm a strong Black woman in spite of the fact that I feel pain and emotions very deeply. I'm a strong Black woman in spite of these things. Not I'm a strong Black woman so I don't feel pain, so I don't experience these deep emotions. No, 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 no. No. And the problem is that's how other people perceive it. A lot of Black women go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed for mental health issues because a Black woman can walk into her doctor's office and tell them what she would be experiencing is all the telltale signs of depression or anxiety, and her doctor will look her dead in the eye and say she's exaggerating, and look her dead in the eye and say that, okay, well, these are common stressors, minimize her symptoms, and then proceed to misdiagnose, proceed to overlook these things. And honestly, I think that Black women's mental health and our wellness getting better has been on our backs alone. I don't attribute Black women becoming more conscious of our mental health and healing ourselves to anybody else but us, because we've had to do the work on our own, because the world tells us that we're exaggerating. The world tells us that we're not seeing what we're seeing, that we're not experiencing what we're experiencing. And that can be extremely difficult to deal with. And I'm so proud of the community that we've built amongst each other. I'm so proud of us as Black women for creating environments where we can heal ourselves and actually be upfront and honest about our mental health issues and seek therapy and go to a doctor. It was hard for me for a long time to go see a doctor. For a long time. Therapy was not as difficult for me to get into, but I will say, like, actually going to see a doctor to treat my anxiety or to, treat my depression, that's a new development. That's something I started this year, girl. And even now, as I'm sitting here, I'm prescribed antidepressants. I don't want to take them. And it's not because I believe I'm too strong. It's because, if I'm going to be honest, it's because I don't want to rely on them to be happy. I want to try to fix myself by myself. And I know that's really a trauma response in itself. But I don't want to take these antidepressants and turn into a person that's not me. I don't want to take these things and experience these side effects. I don't want to, not be myself. But sometimes I wonder, how would I be if I took them? Like, maybe I'm just so used to how I am now that I don't know of the good versions of me that may be suppressed sometimes when I'm experiencing my symptoms. And I will say this, we're told often as Black women that if we are experiencing some type of mental health issue, to pray about it and talk to God about it, and that God will heal us. The truth is that God will heal you, but you also need to see a doctor. You also need to see a therapist. You also need to use the tools that God has provided for us here on this earth to heal yourself. For me personally, I can admit, and I can say, actually, not even admit, I can say proudly that my relationship with God healed a lot of my anxiety. It helped heal a lot of my depression. It helped pull me out of depression, if I'm going to be honest. But it didn't treat, it didn't fix or end or cure. It didn't cure it. There's still a lot of things that I have to do. I honestly believe that praying about your mental health issues and turning towards spiritual well-being is a wonderful way to fortify yourself mentally. However, it is not going to cure your anxiety. It is not going to cure your depression. It's going to give you the tools that you need to do those things, but it's not going to do it outright. So telling women, okay, just pray about it, is not going to fix it, but it absolutely will give you the confidence and the faith and the hope and the resiliency that you may be lacking if you are a religious person. And for me, I wasn't religious until I was like in the thick of it. And I was like, all right, I don't know how to do any of this on my own anymore. And I don't know if I can keep going on. And so I'm going to turn back to where I've learned my entire life I could go for help. And that was God for me personally. And I know that it's different for everybody, but that was really the start of me healing a lot of my anxiety. Because, oh my gosh, girl, I used to have anxiety so bad that I would shake. Like, I would literally shake. And I used to have anxiety so bad that I would have heart palpitations and high blood pressure, and I couldn't think straight. I remember I had an anxiety attack at the gas station. I had an anxiety attack at the gas station, and I had left my card in the reader, and I couldn't figure out why it kept beeping. I couldn't, like, my mind was just like so fogged up that I couldn't even focus on what was right in front of me. I had to get help from the gas station attendant. And during that time, I was going through like this like stressful breakup, and it was just a lot. It was a lot going on. And, I'm proud that I was able to heal myself, but I'm still working through a lot of these things. Before we dive a little bit deeper, I want to put y'all onto a couple of stats, okay? So, courtesy of me and my good friend ACE, but these are widely cited, reputable mental health stats. So, our first stat is that Black women are 50% more likely to experience depression than white women, but are less likely to receive treatment. And we've already discussed the fact that mental health providers and healthcare providers often dismiss us, often, misdiagnose us. But I also want to add the fact that clearly, in my experience, that we put off getting treatment as well. We tend to not seek out care. We often don't recognize the symptoms and the triggers and the things that are happening to us. And so we are less likely to go to the doctor when it comes to, depression and anxiety. With that said, only 1 in 3 Black adults with mental illnesses receive care. Our next stat is that Black women are often misdiagnosed with mood disorders instead of ADHD, even when symptoms match ADHD criteria. Now, I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD. I've talked to my therapist about it. A psychiatrist has to diagnose you, but there's like a questionnaire my therapist was supposed to send me. Girl, send me that questionnaire so I can take it. I'm almost certain that I have ADHD. And also, I'm almost certain that I've had it for a long time. I think I've actually had it since I was a teenager and did not recognize it or didn't know. Like, I don't think I knew. And I just assumed that I was, all right. Like, and not to say if you have ADHD, you're not all right, but you know what I mean? Like, I assumed that that was not something I was dealing with. And so I may not have had the tools to manage things better because I didn't know about it. Another stat for you is that Black women with PTSD are underdiagnosed despite Black communities having the highest exposure to traumatic events. So that's violence, military service, childhood adversity, etc. PTSD is more common in the Black community than we are willing to admit. We always associate PTSD with things like military service. And as a Black woman who has PTSD, which is military related, I don't have combat PTSD. My PTSD is actually like an experience related, but that experience built on trauma from my childhood. That experience built on things that I witnessed and was exposed to in my community and in my home and with my family. And think about that. I really want you to think about that because Black communities are at higher risks of exposure to traumatic events. And we don't talk about that. We don't talk about how traumatic it is to grow up in a violent environment, how traumatic it is to grow up in poverty, how traumatic it is to grow up in unsafe places sometimes, how traumatic it is to be Black in America, to be a Black woman in America. We don't talk about the trauma of that. And there are more Black people walking around with PTSD undiagnosed that don't think they have PTSD. They just think they have anger problems. They just think, oh, they're quick to click off, or oh, they just, have emotional instability and issues like that. No. They have PTSD because they experienced some great degree of trauma in their childhood and their upbringing that we have normalized and that we sweep under the rug because we don't want to talk about it. And I really hate that for the girls. I really hate that for us. I'm so happy we are talking about our traumatic events now. I'm so happy that we're not letting shit lie no more. The reality is, one of the biggest things with managing PTSD is managing triggers and also managing responses, because sometimes your triggers just trigger you. And how you respond, you can learn tools. You can take medication. There are things that can be done. And, I really want us to come around more into talking about the PTSD point, which is why I want to touch on it today. Another stat is seasonal affective disorder, SAD, SAD, affects an estimated 4 out of 10 Black women with existing depression and anxiety, but is rarely screened for in primary care. Now, what this looks like is what I'm talking about, seasonal depression. So, oftentimes, if we think about the fact that Black women are at higher risks of depression and anxiety, right? You can have depression and anxiety regular year round, and then on top of that, have seasonal depression. That's why I really, really, really harp on seasonal depression. Because if you're already a person living with depression and anxiety, when that season shifts, you are more likely to slip back into it than other people. And when I say live with depression and anxiety, I really mean live with it, because it is not something you get rid of. It's not something you get rid of. I had a conversation with my little sister just the other day, and I had asked her how she was doing because I'm trying to make a conscious effort to see about her and talk to her about her feelings more. And she said she's doing good. And she asked me, she was like, "How do you think I am?" And I was like, I think you're doing good too. I think you're happy. I don't think you're actively depressed right now. So I think you're doing good. And she was like, "Actively depressed?" And I was like, "Yeah. You're not actively depressed, but you still live with depression and anxiety. You still have these issues. They don't go away just because you are happy right now." And that's one of the things about depression that I want people to understand, is that just because I'm happy right now does not mean I don't also live with depression and anxiety still. Just because I am managing my anxiety well does not mean I don't still live with anxiety, and that it's still not a possibility for me to have an anxiety attack. It's just that right now I'm okay. Right now, I'm okay, but I'm still susceptible to slip into a depression. I'm still susceptible to have a panic attack or get triggered by something and, spiral. Those are not things that you get rid of. They're not things that just go away overnight. They're not things that you pray away. They're not things that you can, smoke away, drink away, any of that. It sticks with you. And, if you are dealing with these things and the season shifts, it's so much more important that you eat that banana. It's so much more important that you make a conscious effort to go outside and do things that are going to feed your brain dopamine and happiness and things that combat depression on top of what you're already doing. Here's our last stat. Workplace studies show Black women report the highest levels of burnout compared to every other demographic group. I really want us to sit with that and internalize that, because I often see Black women on social media talk about burnout in their careers and in their personal life. And the reality is, especially with our careers, if you're working in a predominantly white workspace, which a lot of Black women are, you have to work twice as hard for half as much. And that alone is very difficult. Not to mention the burden and all the weight of the world that we tend to carry on our backs, okay? Not to mention the mental health issues like depression and anxiety that Black women often battle silently. It makes sense that these women are burnt out, but I also want us to put two and two together, that a lot of Black women are burnt out in the workplace because they are suffering from mental health issues in their personal life, because they are silently battling depression. They are silently battling anxiety, okay? They're silently battling PTSD. And then you go to work and have to go twice as hard for half as much as a Black woman in the workplace. Of course you're burnt out. It makes perfect sense. I had a conversation with someone recently where they expressed to me that they realized that they were functionally depressed. Mind you, this person, cheery, in a good mood, talkative. We went out, we had dinner, we did things together. And I think on the surface, I may not have realized that that person was functionally depressed until they told me. I think that a common response to depression is to just put it to the side. And that's where we get a lot of us who are functionally depressed, meaning we are just going through life, we're still going out, we're still living. We may even smile, we may even laugh, but at the end of the night, when our head hits that pillow and it's just us and God, everything comes flooding back. Everything comes flooding back. That depression that we left on our nightstand is still there waiting for us when we get home. When we're done working, when we're done being mommy, when we're done being wifey, when we're done being the best friend and the backbone of the family, that depression is still there. And I had to work on not skirting it. I had to work on really feeling it, if I'm going to be honest. In the moments where I feel depressed now, even if it's just a moment, it may not be a season, it may just be a moment. In those moments, now I can kind of recognize it way more than I could when I was younger. Um, but I allow myself to feel depressed. I allow myself to bed rot. I allow myself to just sleep because sometimes that's really the only thing I can do. I'm one of those people that's like, if I'm going through it, my first reaction is I need to lay down. I just need to lay down because I can't face the world. I want to stop the world and I just want to melt into my mattress. And sometimes I allow myself to do that because I need to go through those motions. I don't want to put it to the side. I don't want to be like, okay, well, I want to melt into my mattress, but I need to get up and do X, Y, and Z. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's okay. I want to melt into my mattress, but I'm going to go outside to the park and I'm going to get some sunshine. Because yes, that is helpful. I'm not saying don't do that, but at the same time, sometimes it's like, okay, if I have to choose between doing work and melting into my mattress, sometimes I'm going to melt into my mattress. If I have to choose between recording an episode of the podcast and melting into my mattress, I'm going to melt into my mattress because mentally, I don't have it to give. And mentally, I know that I'm going through this and I need to just go through it so that I can come back to the things that I love to do. I can come back to the work. I can come back to the podcast. When I had breaks in the show and in the podcast, often it was because of mental health issues, not because I didn't want to be here with you guys or I didn't want to talk to you guys or I didn't want to express and be happy and funny. It was real life just because I couldn't turn the mic on, girl. I couldn't. And on the surface, if you were on my social media, if you were in my life, you may not have known. You might not have known because I was just functioning. I really want us to break out of masking our symptoms. Don't mask your symptoms. Don't hide them. Be in it. And of course, as I said, do things that'll help treat, but be in it. You don't have to hide it. You don't have to put it to the side. Don't leave it on your nightstand. They say that the goofiest, most lighthearted, most funny people are the same people who are fighting the darkest demons. Those are the same people who have been through the most traumatic things that have so many inner conflicts and battles. And the only way that they can cope with it is through a laugh. The only way they can cope with it is through a joke, is by keeping things light, because otherwise it's so easy to melt into that darkness. And when I tell you that is so true because I'm one of those people. I'm quick to crack a joke in any situation. I'm quick to laugh about something. I'm quick to make it a lighthearted moment. I'm quick to, make it jokey, ha ha, because baby, I gotta laugh to keep from crying, girl. And that's just how I cope. And I think I've been like that since I was a kid. I think my mom told me, even as a child, I was goofy and funny and just ha 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 ha. And we were in some of the craziest, worst situations. And I felt it. Doesn't mean I didn't feel it. It just meant that's how I was coping. And I do that now. I still do that now. I try to be more conscious of it. But babe, keep an eye on your funny friends. Keep an eye on your lighthearted friends because they are the ones that are probably going through a lot of shit and they're least likely to tell you. Now, I want to share with you guys some signs of depression that Black women often overlook, okay? The first is extreme fatigue that feels like laziness. We covered that, girl. It's not laziness. It's burnout, aka depression, aka you just want to lay in the bed all day. You're not lazy, baby. You're depressed. You're not lazy. You are depressed. And when you recognize that you're depressed, you can start to treat yourself and heal yourself. But don't beat yourself up thinking, oh, I'm lazy. You're not lazy, honey. You're not just extremely sleepy and fatigued. You're depressed. Another sign is emotional numbness. And I kind of like visualize this as like a gray zone of nothingness, girl. Like, you're not sad, you're not happy, you're not mad, you're just meh. You're just numb. Like, there's no feelings there, and you're just on autopilot. Specifically, when things happen that should trigger some emotional response, if you feel numb, that is also a sign of depression. And in that same emotional response realm, another sign of depression is irritation instead of sadness. There are a lot of Black women whose depression doesn't present as sadness, it presents as irritability. It presents as anger, and the world may perceive her as an angry Black woman. You're not angry, you're depressed. You're not angry, you're depressed. You're not irritable or annoyed, you're depressed. And I really wish that a lot more people would take time when they interact with a Black woman and she comes off like hard for no reason at all. Dig a little deeper because there's probably something else going on. She's not just a mad bitch. She's depressed. Another overlooked sign is social withdrawal disguised as protecting my peace. And let me just say this because I saw a post recently of a lady saying, if you haven't been alone for over a year in an extended period of time, you can't tell someone that they need to be okay with being alone. And this really made me think to the fact that there are a lot of women, there are a lot of Black women who resort to hyper isolation, specifically in response to traumatic or, saddening relationship events that they think, okay, yeah, I'm just out of the way. I'm just focusing on me. Really, babe, that is a depression response. You are depressed. You're going through so much emotionally that your response is that you're going to remove yourself from everybody else and just be on your own and focus on you. And yes, these are great things to focus on, but hyper isolation isn't going to heal you unless you heal what is causing you to feel the way that you feel, what is causing you to move the way that you do or accept the things that you do. Being alone or being without a companion for a year plus or 3 years plus, single and all this other stuff, in theory, it sounds okay. Yeah, that's a great way to get comfortable with being by yourself. But in reality, you're hiding and you're running. You're hiding, you're running, and you'll only be able to grow with yourself and be comfortable by yourself when you address the things that you're running from that has pushed you towards isolating instead of seeking out relationships that are healthier for you. A few other ones are loss of interest in creativity, specifically how this shows up for a lot of Black women. When you lose interest in things and you lose interest in creativity as a response to depression, oftentimes for Black women, this shows up as not taking care of yourself. This shows up as not doing your hair, not showering as much, not caring about your clothes, not caring about your appearance, or if you brushed your teeth today. It's not because you're a slob. It's not because you just aren't into fashion or aren't a girl's girl. You are functionally depressed. And your response is, it doesn't matter if I don't do my hair. It don't matter if I brush my teeth tonight. Who cares? Life is life and I'm going through it. I'm just trying to take it one day at a time on my autopilot. That is also a common response. A few last quick hitter signs of depression that are overlooked: being overly responsible, hyper independence, sleep changes, of course, procrastination, not recognizing joy in the things that used to bring joy. These are the common things that a provider would ask you, like, do you have any interest in living still? And of course, your answer is going to be yes, but the reality is sometimes it's no, and that's okay. This last one, though, I want to expand on this last one, though. It's quiet crying spells. When I said that sometimes we leave our depression on our nightstand and go about our day, but when we come back at night and it's time to go to sleep, it's still there. Those are the moments where you have your silent cry. It may even be crying in the car before you go inside your house, crying in the shower before you get in the bed at night. That is also a major sign of depression. And sometimes you don't know why you're crying. Sometimes you do. But I'm a fan of crying because I I know that it makes you feel better, but if you were having these moments where you're breaking down, like randomly and suddenly, I really want you to focus on the fact that this could be a sign of depression and it could be a more serious sign of depression. I want to touch a little bit now on anxiety and ADHD. My little sister actually brought this to me, and it took me a long time to realize that I respond this way, but she specifically, pointed this out to me. Anxiety is often misdiagnosed or mischaracterized as irritability or having an attitude or overreacting. Sometimes when you're interacting with a Black woman, it's not that she has an attitude, it's that she's anxious. It's that she's thinking about everything going on around her. It's that she has a million things on her mind and she's just trying to focus on one thing. And it's easy for that to come off as an attitude. It's much easier than you think. And I didn't realize it until looking back at certain experiences with my sister and with myself. That's like, damn, anxiety doesn't always present itself in the way that we would assume. It's not always heavy breathing and sweaty palms. Sometimes it is an attitude. Sometimes it is irritability. Sometimes it's, moodiness. And a lot of people will overlook that. And in that same breath, ADHD is often misdiagnosed as mood issues. And there are a couple things that high functioning ADHD really presents as, and it's being busy all the time, random bursts of productivity, difficulty focusing under pressure, emotional dysregulation, chronic lateness, baby chronic lateness. Oh my God, I've gotten worse with this. And just like I mentioned earlier, a lot of Black women don't realize that they have ADHD until they're grown. And often it's because the stressors of adulthood exacerbate those ADHD symptoms. Before we move on to what helps, I want to just say this quick thing about PTSD. PTSD doesn't always stem from a crazy traumatic event. It's not always something super huge. It's not always something super earth shattering or shaking. There are people who have PTSD from a bad romantic relationship that scarred their heart. And now they're moving forward in a different type of way. A lot of the trauma responses that people have to certain situations also the result of PTSD from bad experiences that wouldn't have been, for another person extremely traumatizing, but for them, they've internalized it in such a way that it has developed into PTSD. So I want to destigmatize that a little bit. So here are just a few gentle tips for you. Not medical advice because I'm not a medical professional, but just a couple things that could help you if you're dealing with these types of mental health issues, okay? First, and I say this all the time, go outside, get some sunlight, vitamin D, specifically vitamin D3 if you're taking a vitamin, but vitamin D from the sun, girl, it is going to work wonders on your mood. It's going to work wonders on your brain. You need sunlight, and that's why seasonal depression is so much more difficult because there's less sunlight. Even 10 minutes of sun will really help you. Go outside. Morning walks or stretches. I think activity in general is amazing. If you can get in the gym, baby, get in the gym. When they talk about running away your depression, running away your anxiety, that is a real thing. Go get on that treadmill. Go get on that treadmill. When you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling depressed, go to the gym. Go lift. It will help you. Of course, we know therapy. There are mindfulness apps that you can get specifically for Black women. I don't use one, but I will try to find some and put them in the description for you guys. Limiting your overstimulation. So the things that are triggering you, try to remove them. And that is one thing that I've absolutely done a lot of. Sometimes what's triggering your anxiety and depression is a person, girl. And it is so important that you remove them from your life as soon as you can. As soon as you can. If they're fucking with your nervous system and your brain, girl, they got to get the fuck on. A big thing that helps too is building soft routines through comfort. I really stress taking it easy. Take it easy on yourself. Go light. Go light. Try to exist moment to moment, not day to day or week to week. Just take this moment and keep it light. Keep it easy. Take it easy and keep it soft. as much as you can. And this last one, which is the hardest, is girl, ask for help. Ask for help. And part of that means telling your story. Part of that means being honest and vulnerable, but ask for help from your friends, from your family, from your church, from your therapist, from your doctor. Ask for help, please. And don't minimize your symptoms. Be honest. Be honest. I cannot stress enough how important it is that when you seek help, that you don't minimize your symptoms, that you don't minimize your feelings, that you don't minimize your pain. Baby, no. You need to seek help as if you are experiencing the maximum amount of pain, the maximum effect of that symptom. That's how you need to seek help. Don't minimize it. I know this was a little bit of a longer episode, but I wanted to get through all of that for you guys because, honey, it is so important that we talk about this. I really hope this was helpful for some of you guys, maybe even eye-opening, and maybe just what you need to hear to affirm what you've been going through. And I'm very happy that I was able to get on here and share this with you because I was actually quite nervous to talk about my own experiences and admit to you guys, yeah, I have PTSD. It's not something I like to say out loud. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even like telling people I have depression and anxiety, but I feel like that is so much more normalized, unfortunately, that it's easier to say than saying, yeah, I have PTSD. And so I really hope that you guys found some gain perspective in that and that it helps some people out there. I want to close with this affirmation courtesy of yours truly and my ChatGPT by Ace. We go back. Okay, we ride until the wheels fall off with ChatGPT, girl. I really want y'all to hear me clearly and internalize this when I say, you are not weak for feeling this way. You're not broken. You are not dramatic. You're navigating a world that expects you to be superhuman while denying you the softness you deserve. Give yourself permission to slow down, feel, rest, and be cared for. You deserve warmth inside and out. So yeah, with all that being said, girl, I love y'all so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you made it to this point in the episode, love you the most. You're my fave. And I will see you guys in the next one. Mwah.